I wanted to share what we do here for second grade towards the end of their force and motion unit. We do marble runs. Now, with the marble run lesson, down below in the description there is a link to what I've been calling the thumbnail of the lesson. It's like the nitty-gritty for the lesson part, so the teachery things. But in this video I want to explain the materials we use, the choices I make, all of those different things that go into the lesson. So because it is the end of the second grade force and motion unit, they've really gotten a good handle on how gravity is a force and how friction changes motion of objects. They're pretty good at this. We use the book Roller Coaster by Marla Frazee. I'm not certain how to pronounce her last name. But this book, the science lab teacher uses it and reads the entire book to them. In some years, some of the base classroom teachers have used the book as a mentor text for if you're expressing emotion. But I start the class by explaining how much I would just like to take the second graders and strap them into roller coasters and make them take notes on every single force and motion that they're feeling as they're riding the roller coaster. But then I explain that parents get a little upset with that type of thing. So instead, we'll share a book to make certain that everyone has the experience of a roller coaster, and then we'll actually build something versus just being strapped into a roller coaster. So we just look at the pages of the book that cover the ride itself, the ones with all of the ride action. And I don't even read the text to them. Occasionally I'll say like the whoosh or it dips and dives, but then this leads to a good discussion about what we feel on roller coasters and what we saw in this roller coaster. We definitely saw changes of directions. We saw go in a loop-de-loop, and then we saw them safely land in the station for the roller coaster. This then leads into a discussion of how marble runs can be very much like roller coasters. They can have changes of direction, and while sometimes the physics isn't great for a complete loop-de-loop, we definitely can get uphills in marble runs. And I tell the second graders that I am certain that they can build their own marble runs. The main materials for this lesson are box tops that I've scoured from my local Costco. They're very happy to see them go. Definitely too big a size means more work and more tubes that you have to cut. So I kind of like that size. But then we also use paper tubes, both the paper towel and the bath tissue tubes. But before I go into a class, I have them prepped. I cut them lengthwise so that then they become marble run tracks here. It's much more useful to have a lot of the bath tissues cut in half than the paper towel. I always do have a good number of the paper towel length cut, but the kids quickly discovered that the long ones, while it seems tempting because then you can get a lot of your box covered, very quickly it ends up taking over the whole thing, and maybe is good for the initial force, but then it's hard to put in different characteristics that we would see in a roller coaster, like the changes of directions or the uphills. The main building material while they're drafting is sticky tack. I have found that this sticky putty by Alcolin is the best stuff to use. It remains sticky. It doesn't require quite as much heating up as the blue sticky tack does. It's a lot easier for the kids to work with. That blue stuff gets really, really firm. And I give each group one wad, and I tell them that's the wad that they're getting, and that's more than enough. If they run out, then they put too much in other places and they need to scavenge from their design. But the way I determine what is officially one wad, the packages come with 4 of these long strips, and I rip the 4 apart and then fold them in half and give each group 1/2. So out of one package I can get 8 wads of the sticky putty, and that ends up being just plenty. Now I do collect it at the end collect it because, of course, sticky putty is way too much fun for elementary students, so I know that some get scavenged, and I also know that some ends up permanently in the design. But I do end up collecting most of it so that it's not in people's hair or in the carpets forever. And do give the kids a checklist of things that they need to remember. This year's checklist included at least one uphill, a marble catcher at the end, and at least one change of directions. And if they want to use tunnels, I say tunnels shouldn't be any longer than 2 inches. 2 inches ends up being half of a bath tissue tube, so I just keep some of these whole and then just chop them in half with my scissors. For marble catchers, this year we used a couple of different sizes of cups. The little bathroom paper cups end up being a great size to use, and it's very easy for the students to cut if they need it to be a little bit lower. We've also used the condiment cups, and right now I think I'm out of my smaller size, but I did give them this size and the 2-ounce size, the really small size. And these were apple juice containers that I collected one day at lunch. Did wash them out. They have been washed with soap and water, so they're completely, they don't smell like apple juice anymore. But these make good marble catchers as well. Now, I have the students working in pairs. In some classrooms with our second graders, the kids are very good at finding pairs. In other classrooms, the teachers want them working in certain partnerships, and I'm flexible with whatever works best for that classroom. The students work in pairs, and they've got 2 days to work on their marble runs. The first day, we're just using the sticky putty, that's it, and the tubes and the box tops and the marble catchers. And then on the second session when I come in, we get the hot glue guns going so we can make our marble runs permanent. Both class sessions for us end up being about 45 minutes. The first session, I remind them at the very beginning that they are not going to be able to finish this in the one day, so it doesn't make any sense to rush, that they really need to try and work together to get an uphill, at least one change of directions, and a marble catcher at the bottom. And the marble catcher is also for my sanity, so there aren't marbles running everywhere. The students work and adjust. The sticky tack is a great building tool for that, because as they discover, oh, we made this uphill too steep, we need to tone it down so that it can get over the uphill, they can make adjustments. And that has worked pretty well. And it's a good modeling for them when we go to finalize our marble runs. The students are more accustomed. This is a good way for me to get them adjusted to the hot glue doesn't work in the long strips, because I'm giving them the low melt hot glue guns. It dries really, really fast. So this reminds them that with sticky tack, we just use wads, and we should use the hot glue the same way, where when we go to finalize, we just kind of lift it up, maybe pull the sticky tack off, maybe not, and just put a blob of hot glue right there, just like we would have with the sticky tack. Now, a lot of the marble runs end up looking something like this. This is the design that I show the kids, and when I'm showing the students this one before they begin their work, I tell them that if we need to cut part of the box, I just unfolded part of mine, but I end up taking my violent teacher tool, because sometimes we need a little bit more height for the start, or some things need to go at the end. But I always point out the fact that when I went to finalize my design, I ended up needing to put an extra little wall in here, because something happened when I hot glued where the physics just weren't the same. I adjusted some angles, and I found that on my final design I needed a little wall here to keep my marbles from getting stuck here on the end. Because some of their designs do need a little tweaking. It may have worked perfectly with the sticky tack, but then with the hot glue, all of a sudden you need an extra little wall. So I do take some extra bits of cardboard, either as walls, or sometimes ramps need a little buttressing. They need a little support because they're too droopy. Whatever the case may be, but those are the materials we use. I do also have a marble run reflection for the students, and I've got that linked as a Google Doc, as well as, by the way, the checklist is linked as a Google Doc in the thumbnail of the lesson down in the description below. But this reflection just gives students the opportunity to reflect on what worked well as they were building and designing, maybe what challenges they faced, and then if they could improve their marble run, what they would do. This is a great thing to do at the very end. I have a tendency to tell kids that they only, even if we've got 35 minutes to work, I tell them they've got 25, so that gives me about 10 minutes wiggle time, so that those students who are done can work on a reflection or test out each other's marble runs or both. But then it also gives us wiggle room so that if there is a group that's struggling with the hot glue guns, need a little extra teacher assistance, as everybody else is done and moving on to something else, I or one of the classroom teachers can help that struggling group, and it's not such an emergency. We don't have to run out to carpool because we did give ourselves that flexibility of extra 10 minutes.
Wait, what?
So what adjustments do you need to make?
We need to make a little.
So like a little wall.
So I can just bend this.
Yeah?
Hold on, this wall. Yes, I found it. More skilled line. Okay. Can I try? Okay, well, yes. Are you mad?